unaweka pale, unanunuliwa penginepo, maana penginepo una nyumba moja ni shilingi 500 wala shilingi 300. Unakimbia, unajua mtoto wako atakula nini, atakula nini.
Mwanaume sasa Kimasai sasa akifika mahali yeye anachua watoto, aisee, hiyo ndio inakuwa ngumu. Lakini sasa mama sasa ndio akaona kazi, na asipoenda hatutapata kitu, itabidi tuvumilie. Na bado kuna shughuli za mifugo pia, wadogo hao hajatoka pia, unaangalia pia hapo. So tumekuta sasa sisi wanaume tumekuwa na kazi nyingi nyumbani, kwa sababu mama kutoka kwenda kwa kazi yao ya kikundi.
Kitambo wasee ndio natafuta wamama akaa kwa nyumba, nakamua, naosha hiyo kibuyu yetu ya kukamua maziwa, alafu nafanya kazi yao kwa nyumba. Msee naenda kutafuta jioni, nakuja kukula, nafanya kazi wa boma. Lakini siku hizi wamama ndio natafuta, wasee siku hizi hakuna kazi. Naangalia tu watoto, mbuzi, ndio watoto ndogo ya ndama, alafu mimi naenda kutafuta na kuja kukula wote na yeye.
Wanataka mind zao zimepanuka sasa. Wamekuwa na mindset tofauti. Wanataka amke, asimamie wengine, wanataka kwenda mbele, warejeste zile vikundi kama za walemavu kwao. Naona tu wamebadilika. Hawako kama vile walikuwa.
Zamani ulikuwa unaambiwa kichwa ya nyumba ni nani? Kichwa ya boma. Si ndio? Unaambiwa ni mwanaume. Sasa hivi mimi naona kichwa ya boma ni mwanamke. Kwa nini si kwambia hivyo mtoto wangu? Naona wajukuu wangu anatoka huko, wachija. Anakimbia kuliko aende akamwambie babake nimepokuzwa skuli. Anakimbia hata kama ni kumsalamia, anamsalamia tu kwa kichwa, anakimbia. Kwa nini umekuja mama? Nimepokuzwa ni mwalimu, anaenda kwa mamako. Zamani ilikuwa kuna hiyo.
Sasa hii ukikaa mtoto anakuambia mama siende kushona, nipate chakula. Sasa utatoka. Anajua mama ametoka, akirudi anaka mfuko ya unga. Hawezi kulala njaa.
Mimi kama mama ninafurahi, maana kama naenda nje kutafuta pesa yangu, nakuja kukula na familia yangu. Nyumba nakuwa mzuri, kama pesa ni nyingi najenga nyumba yangu. Najenga nyumba ya kupanga. Sasa hiyo kazi imekuwa mzuri sana. Naona kwa nyumba yangu iko sawa, hata kwa familia yangu. Maana kama naweza kupata pesa, hata mamangu naweza kupata kitu kidogo. Ndugu zangu sina kula wote.
Maisha yangu sasa hii imebadilika sana, kwa sababu vile nimeona maisha imebadilika. Watoto wanaenda mbele, kwa sababu hii pesa ambayo napata naendeleza watoto wangu kwa masomo, na naendeleza kwa kila kitu, kwa sababu nguo ya shule mimi naendeleza. Sasa hii nimeona mbali sana, kwa sababu watoto wameenda shule kubwa sana, na kwa sababu ya hiyo miradi yangu.
Kule tumetoka tunataka tu hiyo nguo ambayo tumelikuwa tumelalia tuitupe. Tunataka nguo mpya. Tunataka mabadiliko. Ndio tunataka.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Good morning.
The headlines are buzzing this morning.
And the global scene has never been more unpredictable.
So much to talk about.
I am Maureen.
And I am Nyamgo. Join us every morning for the breakfast.
Right here on Plus TV Africa.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Uti Elu, and on this special holiday episode, I'm joined by one amazing co-anchor. Yeah, that's how we're doing it these days. The amazing Sanzi. No, let me call you Sandra Eze, because when I don't call you, they said Sandra the other day and I was like, huh, who's that? So,
are you serious?
Sanzi, folks. Yes.
Hello, Sanzi, yes, on the full name. Sandra.
Now I remembered.
Yeah, I did. Bravo.
Hello, lady.
Yeah.
First time on set in years.
In a while, yes. A bit of traveling,
yes.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
But life has been good. I mean, end of the year, December, I'm just grateful. Like, thank you, Lord. It's been quite an eventful. I know.
Yeah. It's been that kind of year.
Yeah, I know.
Incredibly thankful to be alive. And I think I saw a meme. In fact, it was my boss that sent it to me. It says, we don't need to, finish strong. Let's just finish. Like 2023? Yeah, let's just get to January 1st, 2024.
Nigerians kind of have that vibe. It's okay. Just, even if you're crawling, just cross the line.
Yep.
You don't have to race through it.
Well, it's certainly great to have you back on set. It's great to have you back in Lagos.
I know. I love it. Like, officially back in Lagos, like moving back and forth. Yeah, so.
She yanked the carpet out from underneath us and said she was going to Abuja.
Oh, no.
But God is a powerful.
And you guys prayed me back.
All powerful. So he
Back
heard our prayers, and yes, so it's great to have you back.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's get into this show. Here's what we found as today's quote: "You cannot leave Africa," Africa said. "It is always with you, there inside your head. Our rivers run in currents in the swirl of your thumbprints, our drum beats counting out your pulse, and our coastline the silhouette of your soul." Bridget Dore, whoever you are, you're a very wise woman. Totally agree.
I completely agree. It's like you can never take home out of you.
Africa strong, Africa pride.
The mannerisms, the love for drums. It's like the easiest way to tell an African that's outside of the immediate African continent is when you hear the sound of drums, somehow they're moving their leg or the head. Or it's just something that says African, just gives you away.
It's very powerful, I think. And we're also unique. And I guess the world is full of diversity, but we're uniquely so, even more, I think, in Africa. I think there's a thread that runs through other continents where they're, but here we can be totally different. And I'm not even talking continent, I'm talking like within Nigeria. Like tribes are like chalk and cheese. I know people will say, no, we were never one country. Yeah. It's not that conversation today. Thank you. But it is, very, very powerful to be African, and it goes right down to our DNA, our culture, our history, the very essence of who we are. But to the topic of today, December is here again. And this is the time of travels for Africans across the world. As long as you can afford to travel, to be with families this period. The holiday season is already absolutely in full bloom in Nigeria. Decorations have popped up, work has started to wind down, and different forms of festivities have been lined up for the rest of the month. Today we'll be discussing the influence of Dirty December, yes, on Africans in the diaspora space with Abigail Opia. But first, let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and listen to the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
Still watching Ways. So thanks for staying with us. As I said, we are discussing Dirty December, the origins of Dirty December, the festive period in Nigeria, marked by extravagant celebrations and partying, remain a point of debate. While some attribute its rise to the record-breaking December celebrations in Lagos in 2019, others trace its roots back to the Calabar Carnival's inauguration in 2004. Adding fuel to the fire, musician Mr. Easy claimed to have invented the term in a 2022 interview, pointing to his 2016 song, Dirty Asef, as evidence. Regardless of its precise origin, Dirty December has become a deeply ingrained cultural phenomenon in Nigeria and beyond. So today we are asking, what is the influence of Dirty December on Africans in the diaspora? Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. How are you dating the December?
I'm working a lot. But I mean,
is that your variant of Dirty December? Just, my own version of.
I mean, for me personally, I just want to play it safe, because the last time we were so loud about Dirty December, 2020 gave us COVID. And it was because people had spent vivaciously just in 2019, and then COVID is like, hello. And then you know what happened during COVID. So Dirty December, I'm not that much into. I mean, I'm going to miss traveling home, because I'm always going home every single Christmas. It's like a habit. It's a routine. But this year I'm not traveling. I'm going to be in town working all through. So yeah, that's kind of my.
So we've swapped
December.
places.
Oh, you're traveling.
I'm traveling. I'm doing the whole East kind of Christmas. Yeah. So my Dirty December is taking also a different turn.
But I'm open to events in Lagos. I would maybe try out one or two, even though I would rather just be home and watch Christmas movies.
Yeah. So that's me, right? Spending most of, technically now it's not really more of my life in the UK than I did in Lagos, but enough of it where the Christmas sort of tradition that I identify with is a quiet Christmas, is being home with family, lots of food. So the context of Nigeria where, I mean, before we even talk about December, Christmas Day itself, like the entire UK shuts down. There's no public transport. Like if you don't have a car, you're not going anywhere. I mean, taxis are extremely expensive. So the concept when I got to Nigeria, people are like, somebody's throwing a party on Christmas Day. Why? like it's such, my brain can't really wrap itself around, like I struggle. So like if I'm home, if I'm in Lagos for Christmas, I'm always home on Christmas Day. Like I don't, like people, why would I get out of my pajamas on Christmas Day? It doesn't make any sense to me. No. I mean, the only thing I used to do was like cook, you do a whole turkey and all of that. But in Nigeria, you just order food, plenty, and just put it on the dining table. Everybody dig in. That's my own version of a Lagos Christmas. But so it's quite weird. But let's talk about, you know, the run-up, because I think in Nigeria, I think Dirty December now has even sort of shifted into the later part of November. The events, if you sort of are watching that trajectory, and we have all these different entertainment calendars, you know, people that are determined to help you plan your Dirty December. And I think this year I didn't really get into it because one of the events that for me kind of categorizes my Dirty December is like there's a series of concerts, I think by Flytime. And it's a stalwart, he does it every year. And it's always so good because they bring in like this wonderful mix of huge, you know, Nigerian artists, and then they bring in like maybe like an old school, like a Boyz II Men, or, you know, like a Neo, something like that. But I think this year, Neo was here. No, he was here. Oh, no. He was? Yeah, Flytime brought him 2 years ago. Yeah, 2022. No, 2021 actually. So, yeah, see why you should be in Lagos? But I think this year, the lineup just, I over the years, I think I've seen all the Nigerian artists that he had. So it kind of put a dampener for me, because that's the thing that really tells me December is like, you know, and then you think about all the other events. But it was sort of a twist to it. So because that happened, I didn't pay attention to all of the other big concerts. And I don't think that we've had as much marketing, like really, because you typically in Lagos, everywhere is plastered. Like, so now I think if you're not really going past certain parts of VI, you don't really see the posters. I mean, even some of the Transverse buses are still carrying last December's posters from like the Wizkid concert and things like that. So I think this year has been a little bit, perhaps maybe the marketing spend is not as high. So it's been odd. But then as we're getting closer also to the actual Christmas end of the month, we're now seeing more events, and I've started to see event calendars. And even though I'm saying it feels like not as much is happening this December, I kid you not, there's like 3 to 4 events every single day. I'm not talking Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm talking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wow. When I saw this particular calendar, I'm like, which Lagos are you people in? Because clearly I'm in the wrong place. But I'm looking forward to hearing what our guest has to say about the work that she's doing around the events and the happenings of Dirty December. So Abigail Opia is a London-based journalist and documentary filmmaker with over 7 years of experience freelancing as well as writing for tech publications in the UK, US, and Canada. She's currently working on a documentary titled IJGB, Lagos in December, the dirtiest time of the year, which is set to highlight the best bits of Nigeria, her country of origin. Thank you for joining us, Abigail.
Thank you so much. Honestly, I'm so grateful to be here. You ladies are so lovely.
Thank you. You're just as lovely yourself. You know, for me, I love what you're doing. I'll start off by saying, I mean, I absolutely love Nigeria. Like you know, London girl, back here. My entire family's still in the UK, thinks I'm nuts for being here, but hey, Lagos is home, and it's so special to me. And given the amount of negativity that is out there in the media, in the world in general, right, whatever medium it is about Nigeria, I'm always ecstatic to see somebody telling positive stories about Nigeria, because we need them. We need to sort of paint the right narratives for people to understand that. I think we've come away from, you know, those days when people thought, I mean, when I was at uni, someone asked me if we lived in houses, but, you know, we've come away from that. But we're not still where we need to be, right, when it comes to telling the right stories about Africa and Nigeria in particular. So tell us how this journey began. So obviously you're a journalist, but how did you zoom in on Dirty December?
Really long story, but I'll keep it very brief. So in 2020, I came to Nigeria as an adult for the first time without my parents. So it was like free for all, and I came in December. So we, me and my friends decided to do a live podcast just on a whim, because we were just like, oh, it's post-COVID, let's elevate our platform. So we came here, and it was just like, I was only here for 7 days. I kid you not, I only booked a 7-day flight, and I was this close to changing my flight. So I was like, there's no way that this is the Lagos that my mom had told me about. Like, I'd been with my mom in the past, and it wasn't this vibe. It was just mental. And this was the COVID that you were
2020.
This was 2020, and I still had a vibe. So I was like, there's no way I'm not going to come back when lockdown and Boris Johnson and all the other people say we're allowed to come back. So I then came back officially in 2021, sorry. And I did a Dirty December, but it was a brief one. And then 2022 was literally my ultimate Dirty December. And the catalyst for me filming this documentary was because as I was posting, I was just posting like everything I was doing every day. But I did a straight month. So I was the people that came in November because I was like, I want to experience it from the start to the end. And I left in January. And I did not, kid you not, did not have a day where I was in the apartment for more than 20 minutes.
Are you serious?
Promise you. 5 hours sleep was the max I had for a month. And I remember when I came back, I was really ill, but it was worth it. We were using Bullet, the black Bullet, to sustain us going forward. And I just remember thinking like, you know, this is absolutely fantastic. But it was when I got back to London and the feedback, like people on Instagram were like, where are you? I was like, I'm in Lagos. Nobody could believe I was in Lagos. So that was quite disappointing in my opinion, because I'm all for like, you know, making sure that I'm the number one Nigerian in my friendship group. I'm the number one Nigerian in London in general. No one can tell me that I'm not Nigerian, and I've never once been embarrassed of it, or I've never once been, because there's been a culture of like people, you know, trying to pretend like they're not because of certain stigmas and stuff. But when I came back and I saw the feedback from people saying to me, I can't believe this is Lagos. Oh, Lagos has, you know, you can make your own perfume in Lagos. Oh, they have archery in Lagos. The fact that they were so shocked, I was like, there's no way that the world won't be able to know that my country of origin has all these amazing things, plus more. Because the culture is so much more. I'm going to get into that, definitely. But just the vibe, the nightlife vibe of like, I'll be on a table and there's Azul pouring in, and then we're going to hot.
My goodness, you had a lot of fun.
There's nothing I didn't do. Fly time, I did. Club, I cleared all the clubs.
Wow.
W bar, cleared. There was nothing I cleared on the island. I even went to the mainland because I was like, okay, we've done the island.
Let's do mainland. Wow.
So, yeah, so it was quite disappointing that when I got back, so many people were so surprised and so shocked that this was Lagos, like the luxury style of it. The apartments we stayed in was really, really beautiful, like most beautiful things I've ever seen. So I was like, I have to do something about it. So I was like, you know, I'm going to save up my money and I'm going to film a documentary.
Wow.
So the world can know.
Well done.
And now you're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really great to hear. And like I said, we need those positive stories. It really does hurt to experience it and then have people not believe that it is Lagos. We're still really fighting that sort of single story narrative about what people think Lagos is. But Sansi, you want to
I mean, my aunt wanted to come back this year, but she was so worried about security. She's like, oh, I'm hearing all these things in the news about security and people could, you know, pick me up or just kidnap me or something. And I'm like, I mean, bad things happen in every country. There are bad reports. So you're here, you're coming from the UK and stuff. So were you not worried about security and, you know, stuff?
Do you know what? I've noticed the running theme of whenever you're traveling into Lagos, every time I've gone, so I do 2 times a year, I have aunties telling me, they're kidnapping people in this.
Exactly,
they're doing
yeah.
that. If I listened to them, I would have never come. And what I'm trying to do now is, like, last year I brought over a set of cousins that had never been to Nigeria before. This year I'm doing the same, so they're pulling up next week. But now
look
we've
at you.
like my baby sister, who was she wasn't really like a Lagos girl, she was very British. But she's so interested in coming now just because I'm using myself as a case study. If I can go there with my absolute British accent, I can't even do the Nigerian accent, sadly, or the pidgin English or stuff. And I've managed to go 2 times a year and never gotten kidnapped before. I promise you, you're fine. Like, you're fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's certain roads that you may have to like sit on your phone once in a while, but it's part of the experience. It's fun. Traffic, you know how to use your sense, and honestly,
street sense.
I wish people would stop putting fear into other people especially younger girls or younger guys in the diaspora. I wish I would just stop putting fear into them about things like that, about safety. Because Nigeria, it happens everywhere, like you said, but Nigeria is actually pretty safe. I've been here since November. Have I been kidnapped?
No, you're here.
I mean, and I love the fact that you talk about common sense, because it's the same, right? You could get mugged walking down the street in the UK. You could get shot going shopping in America. So really and truly, you're spot on. Like, it makes no sense. But these are the narratives that we have to fight. This is why documentaries like yours that really spotlight the fact that, look, you're a young person. And why your story is so powerful for me is you came here as an adult for the first time and you saw a completely different picture, even from what you had experienced, because you were seeing it through the eyes of your mum and her experiences and the things that she would let you do. But then the moment you had the opportunity to sort of build or craft your own journey, it's like it opened up like a flower. You're like, ah. And it's so great to hear that you're then sort of paying that, you know, forward and bringing more young people, because more people need to do that. You know, you see people, particularly sort of like African Americans, they're doing the journey back to Africa. But then in
back
Nigeria,
to motherland,
you know,
that's the word.
But in Nigeria, the trajectory is the other way. Everybody wants to japa, everybody wants to get out. And I'm like, look, you people make it seem like this place is literally like, you know, hell on earth. And it's not, you know, bad things happen. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm not saying that Nigeria doesn't have issues. But is it, in truth, really that bad? And the fact is, more people want to come home in December. Everybody wants to eat small chocolate. Everybody wants to eat suya. Everybody wants to, you know, you want to groove. And I mean, the clubbing experience in Lagos, I always tell people, anywhere you go in the world, if you haven't clubbed in Lagos, you haven't started. Like, it's a completely different experience. We're not buying shots, we're buying bottles. Bottles. So it's great to hear. So talk to us about your documentary. How, sort of, what is that process like? What is it? Are you interviewing people? Are you going to be sort of going to live events? What's that all about?
Yeah, so originally we started off in June. So I had this idea in February when I came back and did last year's December. And then I called my cousin. I was like, listen, I need to do something quickly. I've saved up this X amount of money. And she was like, just come. So I was like, okay, I booked my flight in June. I'm a journalist by nature anyway, so I know how to rally people and convince them to talk to me on camera. So I did like, I just found like the top stuff that I did last year, reached out to people that own like beach houses, and reached out to DJs, like, so we had DJ Obi, who's like doing this whole Obi's house. Yeah. We've had Elijah Poppin, who does like the mainland block party. We've had DJ Tobad, that's killing it, doing stuff for like David O and all that good stuff. And then we've also had like just everyday people that are making it work. So we've had like people like this lady called Calypsy. She's a PR agency. We've had people like Titi working at Empire, just making the music scene like rock and stuff, and just doing fantastic things. And then my main focus is, so because it's called IJGB, we've got the IJGBs, which I've convinced to come to Nigeria.
Oh, nice.
So when they land on the 19th, we're now going to film everything. After we've spoken to all these people that are making it happen, they're the ones putting it all together. And then when the IJGBs come, we're going to use their viewpoint to navigate Lagos. So everywhere they from when they land, we're going to film them from the airport, and then navigate every single, you know, vibe, every single concert, every single beach house that they hit. Yeah. And we're going to just basically show Lagos as an amazing place. So we've got schedules. Interviews are almost finished. The last interview I'm doing is tomorrow at LAX, because it's nice to do like a homecoming stuff, and he agreed to be on the documentary, which is fantastic. But then after LAX, we're doing no more one-to-one interviews, and then we're going to go straight into B-rolls. We're going to just film literally as much as possible, every single vibe that's happening within this period, and then we wrap filming up. The last filming will be at Obi's house, obviously, just because he had like fireworks and all the good stuff. And then I'll come back, edit it, and show it to the world. But I think the journey has been definitely an interesting one, because this is my first time ever deciding to take a gamble. I feel like this is like my final gamble in my 20s, but just because it's for passion. My normal day job isn't about telling stories about Africa or anything like that, but I just feel like because I'm Nigerian and this has been so dear to my heart, I don't mind spending money into it, because I know that I will definitely get a return in terms of how many people I bring back to the country, because this country does need tourism. I think tourism will definitely help.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I think that's a good place to take a break. And when we come back, we can now jump into the tourism conversation. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
If you're just tuned in, we're discussing the topic, Influence of Dirty December on Africans in the Diaspora. We're coming right back to the topic. So we stopped off just before we went on the break to talk about tourism. We just mentioned tourism. So did you want to ask a question about that?
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate the effort you're making to paint a better picture, because it's like when we in Nigeria try to tell people outside that, listen, Nigeria is a beautiful place. Yes, the economy might not be so stable, but there is so much you can earn from tourism, and I just want to applaud you for doing that, because I mean it's a lot. It's a lot. Being that you're sponsoring yourself, and this is a sacrifice, and you're not just bringing yourself, you're encouraging others, supporting them to come and see like this is the real Nigeria. And while we have the real Nigeria in Lagos, there is also the other part of Nigeria. There are people who probably can't afford Dirty December, you know. So, and I know you're viewing this documentary from the lenses of IGTV. Yeah. So, do you plan to like also show the other side of people who probably can't afford Dirty December? Because I feel like it would be a nice coverage if you could show like the super cool side and also the other part of Nigeria.
Honestly, no, I don't plan to show that, because when you Google, even if you go on YouTube and you just type in Nigerian documentary, there are so many people showing, poverty, traffic, government corruption. I don't want to include that. I feel like we've had enough stories like that, and now it hasn't worked. It's clearly doing us a disservice. So we need something else. We need to show other people that there is highlights to it. And you know, I feel like the more people come in, the more the economy might get stable. In Jesus' name, amen. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I believe in Jesus. But once the economy does get stable, it will benefit all the other people along the way. And speaking on that, I did have someone message me who had followed me from on Instagram. They were like trying to follow my work and where I'm going, and it broke my heart when he was like, you know, I've never seen Lagos like this. And I was just like, I could you not, I'm sure you live in Lagos, right? And he said, yeah, but you're just showing me how you can enjoy Lagos when you have money. Absolutely broke my heart, but I use that as a tool, because if we can get more people, more foreign currency, more, you know, just a stable economy in general.
Right.
I don't think me telling the side of the story of, you know, not everybody can afford Dirty December, everyone knows that. I don't think it's going to benefit the story in any shape.
Right, you already have the media houses doing that so well.
Everybody, ABC News, everybody.
And you're really right. I mean, I get where Sanzi's coming from in terms of saying, should we balance the equation? But you're actually the one who's trying to balance the equation, because right now there's all the negatives. So we're literally trying to tip the scale back to the side of the positive. And the reality of it is, I keep saying it, there's the uber super rich everywhere you go. And I mean, you're coming from the UK. Some people can't afford to heat their houses at the moment. It doesn't change the fact that some people still have tons and tons of money. So the bit for me, when you sort of talked about tourism, which I think is absolutely great, the entertainment sector is doing a lot for us, because that's essentially the side that you're now looking at, and the more sort of artists and people in that space really just doing their thing is opening up opportunities, and it's impacting the economy, because, you know, if you have an event at certain hotels, everything and everywhere is sold out. So for me, I was just curious to say, oh wow, have you thought about turning the tourism side of it into a business? Because if you bring this set, they have a great time, they're going to go back and tell another set. So literally it's like, what's that? What's the railroad? You know, you're building a path back to Nigeria to have these amazing experiences. So might that be a nice side hustle that's going to come out of this?
Business venture. You're the first person that's told me that, actually, to be fair. I actually interviewed a lady called Hannah Ajala. She works for the BBC, and we filmed her in the Lekki Conservation Centre. Absolutely amazing shoot. But what she does is she has this company where she brings diasporans to Nigeria. And I just thought of it, because the amount of people that message me are like, I've got friends that are Jamaican that have no interest in Lagos. All of a sudden, they're coming this December.
Wow.
It's going to be nuts. Like the level of people that I'm bringing back is going to be nuts. But I think definitely there's a business aspect of that. But my main focus is just telling the story. So I'm not trying to venture off, make more money. I'm not a greedy girl, you know. I just want to.
I feel like I should partner with you, and this should be my 2024.
I know, because honestly, because I feel like she's having all the fun, and I am here in Lagos, and I just won't go out. I don't enjoy going out.
Well, I've got an agenda. You can definitely pull up.
Yeah, but in your journey so far with the documentary and all the people you're meeting, what is your most shocking discovery? Like, I'm curious. Do you have like most shocking discovery so far in this documentary process?
I think what has shocked me the most is the fact that despite the people I've spoken to and their level in the game of, you know, making things happen and just their position and how they sit in the country versus people that are less fortunate, they still have so much negative things to say. And I'm having to, I'm not lying, but I'm having to coach them that, you know, this is a positive documentary, but I feel like they need to, maybe the idea of, you know, saying all the good bits of Lagos in their mind is dishonest, but you saying all the good things doesn't mean that you can omit the bad things and then it's a terrible thing. I just think for a certain project, you should, if we're talking about just the good things, let's just talk about the good things.
It's like highlighting gratitude.
Yeah, but it just shows me that despite all the amazing stuff and, you know, all these people that are coming using their £3,000 flights to come to Lagos for just a short period of time, there's still a long way to go, and I'm not gonna, you know, sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It's I mean, I've been processing this business idea.
You know, start a business. You're only running one.
Like focus on the conversation. So let's talk about what post-production looks like and where we can expect to see the final edit of the documentary.
So when I come back, we've got an editor in the UK that's going to work on this, scrubbing this out, making it look vibrant, putting it all together. I can edit myself, but I refuse to do it because it's the biggest project I've ever put my hands on, so I'm not going to do it myself. I've got meetings with Prime. Prime are the only ones interested at the moment, but the aim is Netflix, because Netflix pays more. So, but I've actually teamed up. So
businesswoman.
I've teamed up with a company called Winter Studios, so they're the ones that are providing the camera equipment for this whole, they've done it since June, and yeah, it's going to be amazing. And they've been really, really supportive in the sense of, you know, just whenever I'm ready to film, I could, like the LAX one tomorrow, it was just like a last minute thing, but they're just like, yeah, we've got camera equipment for you, go and do your thing. So it's nice to see that other people are on board, but the aim is Netflix, but right now we've got Prime interested only.
Okay. Don't worry, they'll come along.
If you build it, they will come. So,
Yeah.
So I totally believe that. The quote that we had on the show today spoke about Africa, so not just Nigeria. And I don't know, I mean, in Africa, Nigerians rock, if I say so myself. I don't think
Nigerians are A-list.
A-list, I don't think that any other, off the top of my head, I can't think of, maybe South Africa, but even that, I don't think that there's any other African country off the top of my head that sort of parties and maybe dirties December. Gambia's not
maybe
bad.
Ghana?
Well,
A little bit?
I think Ghanaians are a lot more conservative than Nigerians. But I think you kind of get where I'm going with this, that could you know, move this train along and really take that narrative outside of Nigeria.
Like a travel tourism.
And show the sort of, whether they have dirty Decembers or, you know, show this kind of positivity in other African countries.
I mean, 100% definitely, but my love for Nigeria
I know we're biased. I'm with you.
I won't be,
Loyalty to
I'll be there saying,
motherland.
but if I was in Nigeria now, I wouldn't. So I don't know whether I'd be the right person to take this like on an African tour because I would always be comparing it to in Lagos. If it's in Lagos now,
my point.
if I was doing this in Lagos, like I just don't know if I'll be able to. But I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. I think the more countries pick up on this, the more countries in the African continent decide to showcase the best of their best, I think that's going to change the absolute narrative. There's so much we don't even know how important it is to tell our own stories. We don't. I feel like in general we're lacking behind in that sense. So the more we do it, irrespective of who you are, because I can't go home now and film a documentary about December in Britain. There is none. Number one. Number two, I don't count myself as British despite my accent. And I don't want to tell that story, but I'm sure Oyibo people there would love to tell their own story, how they get it down, how they boogie. So good for you guys. However, if we all do it, have a collective thing, you're onto a winner there. Honestly,
I'm 2 for 2 right now.
Right?
I'm waiting for the win.
We have to talk after.
Like I already can't wait to watch this documentary. Like just hearing what you're saying and how you sort of like have everything planned out and how you're so passionate about just telling a positive story about Nigeria and just using diversity because Nigerians can party. Our events were just extravagant, vivacious, and it's just it. Like the average Nigerian wants to have a wedding, they wait for December.
We didn't talk about Owambe.
So I thought that was where Santi was going because I was going to ask you that we've talked about all the clubs, the events. Owambe.
Have you side
It's inside there. We've covered everything. We have a guy whose name is Eniola John. He does like events, and we spoke to him, and he's getting us into a wedding. We don't know anyone else getting married in December, but he does do weddings. So he's getting us into a wedding so we can showcase the geles, the outfits, the breaking cola nuts, the every single thing. I think what the people want to see is just the color, the vibrancy, the luxury. Because Nigerian weddings, we can get, even if you want a small one, even if you're on a budget.
Make it a loud budget.
My sister, she got married in 2017 in the UK, but she did like the typical Nigerian wedding. She had 2 days across 2 weeks. She had 3,000 people come to her wedding. 3,000. She doesn't even know 3,000 people. You don't need to.
Just invite family, and then your mom calls her friends, and then her friends call you. You should come to this wedding, and then she calls a sister and a brother, and then so it's just welcome.
So yeah, the plan is to literally show everything: the best of the best, the tourism side, the party side, the Owambe side, the beach house side, the things for like people that don't like to party, what they can do there, the funfair side, Food. We've got it covered. Food. We spoke to Opeyemi, who was discussing the best places to eat. Listen, there's nothing we haven't covered. It's been a long run, but if you feel like there's anything else I should add in, I'm here till January. But
you're on way, so you've caught it.
Like I think you've pretty much covered everything. Like fashion, food, parties, nightlife, all of it. I think she has it pretty much covered.
And she has ways too now, so she's completely.
Yeah, interviews too.
So,
wow.
I appreciate it, honestly.
Wow. I can't wait to watch
I think that, I mean, if your IJGBs, there's also like the beauty experience of getting their braids done. I'm sure when they come in, they want to get
the
their braids
IJGB
done.
braid with the curl at the
end.
end.
Yes, and they want to do all of that stuff. So probably, want to put part of the beauty industry in there because that's also a big thing for us. Lagos people like to look good.
Yes, always. It's a thing for us.
And there's quite a bit in that industry as well. But I mean, we've had such a fantastic conversation. Now that we sort of understand what the door that you've opened up, are there other, because this is very much your perspective, this is very much the UK IJGB. I'm wondering if there are other sort of doors open. I know you talked about collaboration with the people who are helping you in the studio and all of that. What other kinds of collaborations do you see now that you've sort of been coming back here for a few years and you're now taking on this project that could potentially open doors to tell other positive stories about Nigeria?
I think this one's being one because I remember speaking to the producer here and she was like, she has a story about, she wants to work on another story about other sides of like the traditional things that happen in Lagos, Nigeria, sorry. And I was like, yeah, that works. But I feel like in general, there is room to collaborate across the board. So government, they need to speak up a bit more, I think, in terms of every single person I've interviewed has not said the government in one of the questions that they've asked, even though we tried to stay away from it. Now we need to go and reach out to the government because it would be biased if we didn't.
Right.
I think collaborations between like music and tech and just everything in general, just to make things mesh a bit more infrastructure-wise, we can collaborate on that in terms of, you know, making sure that we have certain things in place. The new airport that, you know, we've gotten dished out and stuff. We need to do more. We need to make more of a hoopla. We need to shout more about it because we deserve to shout more about it. And I don't want to hear things about, oh, you know, maintenance. If we collaborate well with other, you know, bodies, we wouldn't even have to complain about, oh, but can we maintain it? Yes, we can, but collaboration is key.
So let's weave a thread of positivity, and that's really, really good.
Yeah.
I think the government in Lagos State should be commended. I think in terms of what they're doing for entertainment and that's your world. So
yeah, that is my world, and yeah, there's a reason everybody wants to run to Lagos, because Lagos is like one of the major states that are just working so hard to meet up with the requirements in the global village of what an ideal developed society should be, you know. So yes, Lagos State government is doing a great job. I like Lagos. I hate the traffic, but I love Lagos. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that we've, your IJGBs who are coming home, what kinds of things have they shared with you in terms of, I mean, of course, they've lived lives vicariously through your experiences so far. Are there any things in particular that have stood out for them that they can't wait to experience?
Are they looking for
to
wives
see?
or husbands? Or yeah, that
I look into this camera. Listen, ladies that are coming from the UK, America, don't come here and be like, oh, I'm going to find myself an African king. Rubbish. Please hold your money so that you can ball out and be a boss woman by yourself. It's not that deep. You don't have to come here and look for a man to listen. That's not. Have you read the book? All Lagos men are. No,
I'm mad. All Lagos men.
Please, just it's not that vibe. Like if you're looking for a good time, minus like relationships and stuff, just get ready. I've literally prepped them. Get ready. Get your money up, because we're not going to rely on men to pay for us when that's not what we're here for. Get your money up. Look, they're looking forward to the beach houses the most, the whole jet ski thing, and they're looking forward to. We found out that you can snorkel here underwater. They're looking forward to that. Snorkel, yeah, there's a whole snorkel thing that they can do from Landmark Beach onwards and stuff. I'm sure it's Landmark Beach. I'll double check.
Wow.
But yeah,
Soul Beach.
Yeah, Soul Beach.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's like so many different aspects that they're looking forward to. That if you was to go to like the Maldives or whatever, you're paying an arm and leg, but you're coming to Lagos, it's cheaper. They're looking forward to lashes. Lashes here, so much more affordable. They use human hair. It's wonderful.
Yeah?
I bleached my teeth before I came here. Like. Literally, they're looking forward to all the little aspects that I'm showing them, like all the beauty, the ivy drips, all the like nice stuff. That's for the ladies anyway. My cousins that are males that are coming over, they're looking forward to just like being ballers. Obviously, the currency.
The money goes so much further.
I know, although Lagos is expensive, but they'll still feel like what they're trying to achieve. So. Yeah, but I think just in general, just the going through the motion of not sleeping, partying as much as possible, just having a nice break. It's hot in London. My mum is crying about how cold it is.
Like so cold.
Freezing. English weather.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Whereas you're having a December, some of them, it'll be their first
warm December.
Warm. Like it's going to be insane. Like Christmas Day, we're going to spend it at Obi's house. We're going to do like a little bit on the beach beforehand. I don't think anyone's ever had a beach Christmas Day in my family. So...
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm
special.
looking forward
You're literally changing lives.
Yeah. Well.
You know, I can't say this enough, but it's been so refreshing having you on the show.
Thank you.
The amount of positivity, I look for it all the time. I mean, I see it everywhere I look, but I know that my perspective is unique to me. So when I find other people who are shining the right kind of light, and I love the passion with which you said, I'm not doing the negative. And please let that run through when you're editing. But I can't personally wait. I can't wait. I will literally bug you. I will follow you until that documentary is out, because we need to tell those stories. But we've loved having you on the show, and we wish you the very best with your Dirty December, and keeping your guests, your cousins, your family, safe, and everybody having fun. So
I just love the positivity.
I know.
It's contagious.
I'm loving it.
It's like I'm seeing my immediate environment fresh from her eyes. I'm like, she's doing all these things. I've been in this town.
I can't wait to loud it when we bring it out.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much for doing that for us. Before we go, do ensure you listen to our podcast on Spotify and follow us on Instagram at Wayshow Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our social media engagements. And remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch us and follow us. If you missed today's quote, here it is again. You cannot leave Africa, Africa said. It is always with you, there inside your head. Our rivers run in currents in the swell of your thumbprints, our drum beats counting out your pulse, and our coastline the silhouette of your soul. And that was by Bridget Dorr. So we'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Bye.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 they pay.
Minding your mannerisms in public signals civility. Your behavior determines how others perceive you, and if you can leave a good impression, why not?
When it comes to that, it's about really making sure that you don't do something that will make people upset. So let me give you a typical example, public toilet, right? You want to walk into that washroom nice and clean, and at the same time, you want to leave it clean for someone else to use it like that. But what you find is that some people use it haphazardly. They don't care about who's coming in next. And of course, people are disgruntled by the way the place is dirty, not kept well. And of course, we have a problem there, health and hygiene, right? That's a public place. When you think about the airplane, for example, the same thing as well. You are on the plane and you have children, and the children are making a whole lot of noise. You're disturbing the elderly people and other people who are sharing the same space with you. So when you're on the plane, you have to be mindful of other people that are going to be using it. So even when you're sitting down, it's a confined space, right? So you don't want to disturb other people. You want to make sure that you have a smooth ride without upsetting anyone while you're in that public space. What about when you're at the cinema as well? You know, a cinema is a place where, and a library, where you have to keep quiet. You don't want someone to keep telling you, shh, shh. What does that mean? You're not supposed to use your phone when you're in such places, like a library, for instance. Then you're in the supermarket as well. A whole lot of things. And many places where people are, I won't say maybe ignorant of other people, right? They think they're in their home. So you're in a reception in a restaurant, or you're in the reception of a hotel. You're not going to put your feet on the desk or on the table and you're watching the TV as if you're in your sitting room, right? So people wouldn't like that. I've seen cases where some people are they're in the not waiting room. There's a public place where you can sit down in a hotel, right? And some people have taken off their shoes, put their feet on the table, and their hand behind them, they're watching the news. I'm like, hey, this is not your sitting room. You don't do things like that. Then when you talk about a dining environment, you're in a restaurant. I have literally seen people, and I've done videos on it as well, where they've given you a napkin. It's for your hands. Wipe your hands down because you're about to eat. Then guess what happens? You see them using the same napkin to wipe their face, to wipe their hair. I've seen them do this. I'm like, oh, this is not the bathroom. So it's really about perception and how you want people to see you when you're in a public place.
When in the public, it is important to be courteous and respectful of others. You might not always know the rules, but if you make a genuine effort to be considerate of others with the intent not to disturb them, the conscious effort would show.
For me, I would love to see an environment where when we see something that is not right, we correct. I've done that severally, and I'm brave enough to do that. And most times when I finish speaking to the person says sorry, because maybe at the time they were doing it, they didn't realize how bad it was and the consequences to another person. But most times you find that they are truly sorry because it just didn't come down to that.
The rules of behavior when we're in public vary from culture to culture.
If you've ever been to Singapore and you're in a public train or any public environment, you're not allowed to chew chewing gum. And they made it a law. And so now people are very conscious. Don't chew chewing gum, you get fined, you can be imprisoned. So they've made it part of their life.
However, culture is an ever-evolving phenomenon that changes as the needs of the people changes. We all have rights, but it has limitations where the exercise of your rights begins to infringe on the rights of others. Behaviors such as playing music or videos loudly on your phone in public, receiving calls loudly in public places, or even blowing horns arbitrarily can be seen as offensive. Here are some common etiquette to take note of in public. Offer up your seat. If you're in perfectly good health, offer your seat to anyone who is either in poor health or pregnant. Make commuting easier for those who need it. Let the waiter come to you. Never yell or wave your hand at a waiter while dining. Make their job easier by being patient or politely get their attention when they pass by. Know your audience. Be aware of who's around before engaging in hot topics. Respecting people's sensibilities is the proper way to behave. Make sure to tip. Tipping is essential for certain employees to make a decent income. Make sure to leave a tip as a token of your gratitude whenever possible. Even services you might not think of, like a haircut or dog grooming. Say excuse me. It's the polite thing to do when you bump into someone. Even if you're not really the one to blame, why not just avoid conflict and brush off the situation? Use a coaster. Spilling isn't the only way to make a mess with your cold beverage. Say please and thank you, especially to those closest to you. Smile at the cashier, the bank teller, the security man, your co-worker, even if he or she doesn't smile back. Hold the door for the person behind you, and if someone holds the door for you, remember to say thank you. Step outside to answer your phone calls. Sometimes you have to take an important call. It is important to step outside to take your call because it's not fun to hear your conversation when we're trapped behind you in a line. Give people a pass. Cranky salesperson, nasty driver, you have no idea what's going on with that person right now. You don't have to reward ugly behavior with your own nastiness, which only perpetuates the cycle. Look at the person who's speaking to you. It is polite to listen to people who are talking to you and not just type away on your smartphone. Let someone go in front of you in line. Cough or sneeze into your elbow. Put your smartphone away during meals. Be on time. Ask Ask before posting. Not everyone wants to be all over social media, and you're not a reporter, so stop spreading the news. Keep the noise down at work. Silence the ringer on your phone. Speak quietly and turn the sound down on your dinging emails so it's not bugging everyone you work with. Wash your hands after using the bathroom. Park your shopping cart on the side of the aisle. Ask permission to use someone's first name. Clean up after yourself, at home, at work, at a friend's house. Ask before bringing a guest. Don't assume they're automatically invited no matter how well you know your host or hostess. Stay at home when you're sick. Reach out to people who are grieving. Don't pretend nothing happened. If you don't know what to do or say, you can simply say you're sorry. Let people get off the elevator first before you get on. The same rules apply to trains and buses. Silence your smartphone at the movies and stop crinkling that candy wrapper so loudly while you're at it. Help someone who's clearly struggling. The next time you see someone straining to reach something on the highest shelf at the grocery store, help him or her out. Skip controversial or nosy topics at parties. Politics, religion, or asking when they're getting pregnant or how much weight they lost. Those topics are sensitive and should be off the table. When you enter a room, greet everyone. Return calls. If someone takes the time to leave you a voicemail, take the time to call him or her back. Use an earphone or headphone in public while scrolling through social media. Who has the right of way? Nigerian roads come with a lot of chaos. The chaos is caused by a combination of drivers, motorcycle and tricycle riders, pedestrians and sellers who all claim the right of way. The chain of right of way holders in Nigeria is hierarchical, and car and motor drivers are at the top of the chain with pedestrians at the bottom. Car or motor drivers believe that they always have the right of way regardless, and motorcycle and tricycle riders don't even have any regard for who has the right of way. For fear of accidents and their lives, pedestrians have learned to cower. When a collision occurs, the question of who has the right of way is on the lip of all concerned as they try to figure out who is guilty. The law doesn't grant anyone the right of way, but you yield it to other road users under these circumstances. At a yield sign, to pedestrians in a crosswalk, to persons using a seeing eye guide dog, to persons using a white cane with or without a red tip, at T intersections where you must yield to vehicles on the through road, at uncontrolled intersections where vehicles are already in the intersection, when driving on an unpaved road that intersects with a paved road, when returning to the roadway after a car is parked. Pedestrians must always be yielded the right of way at intersections and crosswalks. Treat bicycles as motor vehicles. Yield to bicyclists in all situations where you would yield to a car. For example, wait for an oncoming bicycle to pass before turning left. Turn right at a red light if it's permitted and no vehicles are approaching. If you see a sign that says "No right turn on red," then you must wait for the light to turn green again. Otherwise, you must turn right at a red light after yielding to oncoming traffic. Stop for pedestrians who've begun crossing the road. Once a pedestrian has begun crossing the road, they have the right of way. You should also stop for pedestrians waiting to cross at crosswalks that aren't controlled by a traffic light. Yield to oncoming traffic if you're entering a main road.
Welcome. On the set today, we have two people. One of them wrote the book you're just seeing on air now. It's called And the Storm Came. And the second person has a similar experience to the extent that they have shared, well, common grief. We're talking about grief today. Now, at the end of this show, my sisters and I, my co-anchors and I, and today, you will see them once I come back, my co-anchors and I are going to help you understand that grief will come, but there are ways to handle it. And our guests will help you know that even when the storm comes, you can survive. We'll be right back. My sisters in the house. One of them is my little sister. No, you're both my little sisters, by the way. My sisters in the house. Yes, now, who's my littlest sister in the house with me? Yes, we all know these things. But this lounge, welcome to the lounge. So you guys welcome them to the lounge now.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for making our time to be here. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Some people are going to wonder, we're talking about grief and all of us are smiling. You know, but just a quick introduction of both of them, you know, and I want to make sure I do it right. Kike Mudiaga wrote that book, And the Storm Came. Kike Mudiaga is a writer and an author, obviously. She's written that book. And Kike lost her mother and her sister in one go. She will tell us about it. And sitting right next to me is Banke Shotomi. Is that?
Shotomi.
Shotomi. Okay, I'll stick with the Banke. Banke only lost her husband a few months ago. And some will be saying, why is Banke not wearing black? So let me start from there. But Banke is a transformational life coach. It's like, did life prepare you for what you're experiencing today in some ways?
Yeah, pretty much. My journey has been a journey of ups and downs, as most people have. But particularly in my 20s, I had emotional issues, emotional traumas.
You don't look like you're too far from 20s.
Yeah. Well, I am. And my 20s really taught me a lot about the mind, a lot about emotional healing, a lot about how to overcome challenges. And I believe that it's those journeys that has helped me to be sitting here, but also has given me the passion and the desire to help other women who feel stuck in their lives, who kind of have gone through things or don't know where to go, how to actually make transformational changes to make their lives much better.
That sounds interesting, you know, but you know I said something about not wearing black. You know how in Africa we say...
you lose somebody, you're supposed to wear black for a couple of, I mean, maybe 6 months, 1 year.
Well, I actually did wear black. I'm Yoruba, so we have the 40 days cultural mourning, and actually that ended last week on my birthday.
Yeah,
it ended on...
Oh, it went on your birthday this year?
It ended on the day of my birthday, and so I was wearing black, actually. I couldn't wear makeup. I was very in a sober, somber look. So yes, I did have a lot of black.
Even you are saying, wow. And Dion is kind of...
I'm going to be a little bit quiet because grief is very difficult for me. I don't know how to do grief. People say, that's a very strange statement. How do you do grief? I really don't know. I may not know the person being buried, but I will cry. Oh my God,
like,
I think people thinking people, men, the emotions and everything.
It's just too much. So when I do know the person, I don't know what to do. So I shut down mentally and emotionally for a season. So I'm going to be listening to learn, mostly, because I really don't. Maybe you'll be able to tell me how you grieve. Okay, before we share our own personal experiences about grieving, it would be nice to hear what it was like for you, because the interesting thing about your story, sorry about the word interesting, you know, your sister, your younger sister died in an accident with your mother in the same car, and they were going to Ibadan to plan for your older sister's wedding. So who will grieve the most in that kind of circumstance?
Oh, everyone. My dad, my sister, you know. It was, sometimes they say when you lose someone suddenly, it's a bit harder.
I must say.
Maybe someone was ill and you had time. It was too sudden. In the midst of getting ready for a wedding, a happy thing, everybody was excited, okay? So it took its toll on us in different ways. My sister, who was getting married, just, you know, first of all, yes, that was the big question. Should we go ahead? Everything was ready. It was so funny because we got to Ibadan and we didn't know who did mommy give the clothes to, who is the tailor, you know, so it was an interesting mix of things, you know. And interestingly, my sister, my younger sister who passed in the accident, had come to see me in school for the first time. She just came. She decided to come to Unilag at the time and surprise me with a visit, you know, saying, oh, we're going to Ibadan tomorrow.
She saw you the day before.
Yeah, we're going to Ibadan tomorrow. And, you know, so I took her around my hall and introduced her to everyone, my sister, my younger sister, and all that. So it was hard because we had to decide, okay, should we continue with this or just take time to grieve? The cards were out. People were traveling from all over. It was the first wedding in the house, so it was a big deal for my parents. And so we had to decide, and my dad said, no, I'm not going to let the enemy take everything.
Oh.
So we're going to go ahead, and we just had to pull ourselves together. So it was interesting because on the wedding day, people were mourning because they knew, you know, what it took to pull this through.
Okay, wait, I mean, it was nice to understand what happened, you know. I know that for you, you were away from your husband when it happened, you know.
Yeah, mine was also a sudden situation. I was actually on the bus on the way to the airport to go back home to be with him.
On the bus here? Or
in
where?
London.
Okay.
I had flown out for just 1 week.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And he wasn't ill?
He wasn't, well, he wasn't ill in terms of he had an illness, but he had a heart condition.
Okay.
But it was a heart condition that was under medication, and it was one that we were going to get surgery from. In fact, the day would have been this Monday just gone. So that was an emotional day for me to think that, you know, today we could have actually had the surgery and, you know, everything would have been okay. But I was on my way to the airport on the day. I was sitting in the bus. I got the call first from his PA, which was very unusual because I had called him a few hours before and he didn't pick up. And again, that was a very unusual thing because we were always speaking. As a matter of fact, that particular morning, we were on FaceTime and everything was great. And he was like, oh, I love you. I can't wait to see you. And I was like, I love you too. I can't wait to see you. So when the PA called me, I knew that, okay, they said he had fainted. So I said, okay, we can manage fainting. Fainting is okay. And then I was like, okay, who's fainted? Let me speak to him. Then that's when the story started, you know, getting back and forth. And I said, I insisted that I want to speak to the doctor. And so they said, okay, we'll go back inside the hospital and get you to speak to the doctor. So the driver called me back, trying to give me the phone to the doctor for me to speak to. But unfortunately, the doctor wasn't aware that I was on the phone. And he kind of shouted at the driver, what is it? I've told you, he's gone, he's gone. So that was how I actually heard the news. And so at that moment, I was like, okay, God, please just let it be a mistake. Let them not know what's going on. You know, let it just be incompetence that we're dealing with here. And so the driver dropped the phone, called me back, gave the phone to a particular nurse. The nurse was like, oh, don't worry, Ma, we're trying to give him oxygen, we're trying to revive him. But I knew by that time, they were just trying to cover up. I guess no one really wanted to. Yeah, he passed away here, I was in the UK.
She was coming back next flight.
Yes,
going to port.
that same night, I was on my way to the airport. Literally, I was on my way to the airport. So I called the driver back and I said, look, just tell me the truth. What has happened? And that was when he confirmed that he had passed away. And, you know, it's one of those moments where you have an out-of-body experience because you're like, what? You know, and I broke down on in the bus.
Yeah, what were you like on the way?
Exactly.
How's your trip back? What was your trip?
I had to compose myself because my younger son was flying back with me and I didn't want to tell him at the time. So it was actually the singular most difficult experience I've ever encountered because at the same time, I'm in shock, I'm crying, I'm devastated, but I have to gather myself together to, you know, to be there for my son without letting him know what's happened and go on an 6-hour flight back home, all composed. So my family were obviously very worried. And my sister had taken me to the airport and I remember crying so desperately. And when my son had come to the airport, I said, okay, you've got to get it together. You've got to get it together. I had to give myself a pep talk. I had to actually gather myself
Okay, in
together.
all of this, I know I'd spoken to you
before we came on the show, and you talked about nobody even moved when you were crying, sobbing in the bus. Nobody said, which brings me to the question that I would like both of you to respond to. I'm sure you guys want to know too. How do we deal with people who are grieving around us? Maybe Kike can start.
From my experience, I notice people stay away. They're not sure how to approach you or what to say.
Dion already said that she doesn't.
So they stay away. You almost feel like, I don't know, like a...
Deserted?
Yes.
What would you rather they did?
Exactly. Would you
Okay.
want calls? Yes.
I remember my older uncle would, you know, he just wanted me to get past it. Like, okay, what next? What next? What do you want to do? You know, in a way to help me, thinking he's helping me. Like, okay, let's get past this. Do you want to go and do your master's? Do you want just get away from here? But I wanted someone to just sit and cry with me. I just wanted someone to help me let it out, you know, even though it wasn't going to go away permanently. But just let's be here. Let's experience this loss. Let's accept the truth and deal with it slowly. But don't tell me to wipe my tears and, you know,
hurry up.
Just hurry up.
What
Yes.
works? I mean, maybe for you, for example, who you're a widow, the proverbial widow. When we talk about grieving, people only think about widows. Please, could you let me pass this tissue to Dion? See why I don't grieve, you know. And what is the right? I hate to use the word, but is the right etiquette around this?
Okay, well, I will use the experience I've had has been a mixture. I've had people who have literally flooded me with love, prayer, support. I've had other women who have said, family members or aunties who have said, you know, I'll try and speak it in Yoruba, "Maronuo," as in, don't think too much, don't. Just move on. Just, you know, gather yourself. It has happened. It has happened. Is the one thing
And
I
that's what's
heard
good?
so much. Yes and no, because I believe that, you know, part of healing is acceptance.
Yes.
I think suffering comes because we are holding on so tightly to something that we should just let go and allow flow and peace to deal with the healing. So for me, I had a combination of people showering me with love and support. I had people telling me, oh yeah, don't cry, or move on, get on with it. And I had other people, up to today, I have friends who have not picked up the phone to call me. And I've realized that it's not something to be offended about, because I recognize that grief is a difficult thing for people to deal with.
Thank you for bringing that understanding, because I know people have said to me that maybe sometimes you don't know if you should call, if it's the right time, if it's the right thing to do, if you should be there. Sometimes people say, I want to be on my own. So you're in between, and then people get offended for the rest of their lives. And then it's hard for you to even come around and try to explain what it was. You know, one thing I wanted to actually talk about was premonitions. Did you feel like there's anything in this life? When you talked about your sister, for instance, do you think that maybe she felt something was going to happen and that's why she came the day before?
For my sister, I wouldn't talk that much, but my mom, when we got talking with my sisters, she said my mom came to her, I think a week before, and was crying that I don't want to die before my daughter's wedding.
Oh God.
My mom prays a lot, and she's a strong Christian, and she had that gift, which I think many women do. You just sense, or you dream,
Was she ill?
or you see nothing. She must have dreamt. My mom was very, you know, her dreams were strong, and she said it was as if I can't stop it. That was how it sounded to her, because I'm like, okay, if you dreamt of something like that, you would tell us, we would pray, you know. But it seemed she let go.
That's true. Speaking of, I have a personal
Did you have a
experience that
premonition? You know, I wonder that
I
she had a
had
premonition.
3 different episodes in that 1 week, but I
But
had
you were
no
away.
understanding. Yeah, but I couldn't, in my wildest dream, have put the 3 of them together. The first one was the Friday that I left. My husband had gone for a spa treatment, and he sent me a picture of him doing a facial. And the way he was lying down, he looked like he was dead. And I remember sending him a message, darling, what's this that you're sending me? You look horrible. You look like you've died. And I remember feeling absolute fear in that moment. And I just, when obviously I had spoken to him, I was like, thank God, because how would I really cope if this was going to happen? Then the second thing happened maybe on the Wednesday, where I listened to a YouTube podcast, and it was talking about appreciating your loved ones, because you never know when they will go. And I remember listening to it and I'm thinking, that's, you know, I mean, I always speak to my husband, we're always in a good space.
So it was your husband that came to your mind again?
Yes. And, you know, I just, you know, I spoke to him that day. We always had a habit of telling each other we loved each other at any point in time.
How fortunate.
And then the last thing was the day it happened, on my way to the airport, just before I got the call, I was listening to a book, and I reached the end of the book, and again, the book was talking about...
Was it a spiritual book?
No, it was a motivational book. I'm not sure if I can mention the book here, but it was a motivational book. And it was talking about those who have the courage to continue even when they have lost someone, especially in circumstances when they have not had the chance to say goodbye. And I just remember listening to it, and I actually said I'm going to replay the book again because I loved the book for so many reasons. And literally like 30 minutes, I had come out of the tube station, and that's when the call came. And I remember saying to God, God, you gave me all these signs. Why didn't you activate my intuition enough to pray? Because I'm a prayerful, you know, woman to some extent. And so for a long time, those were my questions, like, God, you give me all these little bits of information, but you don't give me any understanding. Could I not have prayed?
They say sometimes when you pray, it doesn't make a difference.
I was just going to say that.
Yes.
I mean, would it have changed anything? But what do we take away from that? For example, you have used your talent to put up a book, you know, and the storm came. And was that therapeutic for you? Because the premonition your mother had didn't stop it happening. You know, I don't know what you could have done differently.
The book was, the idea for the book came, I think, about a week or so after.
So just a week after?
Yes, just after. And I knew, because I couldn't understand what all this emotion was. What is this? You know, nobody can teach you, or there's no book, truly no book or counselor can explain to you what it feels like to grieve, to lose someone. So I knew that if I could express what I was feeling in the book, maybe it could help one or two people to say, okay, so this is why I did this. This
Were
is
you journaling?
I wasn't.
Just suddenly said, I'm going to write this.
I was taking a walk one day, and it was like an instruction. You know, sometimes you get an idea, like, oh, that's a nice idea. It was like, you will write this book. So it took me about 10 years later, because I couldn't...
This is 10 years ago. How many years? The book is 2 years old, and they've been gone for 11.
Yes. So I would start writing and couldn't control my emotions. I go, I can't do this. It was like reopening.
It took 10 years.
Yes, it took 10 years to write this
What
book.
about you? You've been prepared in terms of, you know, you have, because you say you are now a transformational coach.
Yeah, I mean, one never really is prepared for death. That's the one thing. Although it's so inevitable, we just never ever prepared for it. But what I said to God was this. I said, Lord, if you can get me through this with my mind intact, I promise you I will help other women who are in situations, not necessarily grieving, but who are in a situation where life has thrown them such a devastating blow and they don't know how to get over it. I will dedicate myself to help women to do that. And I said to God, don't let my pain be wasted. I remember saying that. I cannot cry all of these tears and no impact is made. That was
Did you ever stop crying? You know, like I was saying, I lost a brother. I mean, I knew he was going to die because of the circumstances. I mean, he had cancer. But it's still like, it's 10 years in June. Yes, it's 10 years already this year. And it still feels like he just died. Is that strange?
No, it always feels like that. My dad died 17 years ago, and on the day that he actually passed, I can't be around people because we're really close. So
Speaking of, I remember an experience I had. My dad's younger sister. So in retrospect, I sort of feel like maybe that was my own premonition, but I didn't understand what it was at the time.
She died.
Yeah, maybe. So I was in school, I was in uni, and then I remember like trying to lay my bed, and then a thought came to me that that's the last bed sheet you're going to lay before you die. And everything else I did following it just kept coming to me. So I remember calling my mom. I'm like, Mommy, I don't know what's going on, but this is the way I feel. And then she's like, pray about it, cast it out, it won't happen. And then anytime it comes to your mind, fight the thoughts and all of that. And then it kept happening. And on Thursday morning, it kept happening. And then she said, stop saying it, don't say it again. It's not there. Imagine that's not there. So on Thursday morning, my sister calls me and she says, Auntie Alex is dead. And immediately the thing went. And then I said, what happened? And then she said, oh, she had an appendicitis thing. And then she went in on Sunday.
Appendix.
Yes, it ruptured. She went in on Sunday. So the Sunday I started to feel it was the day she went in. But I didn't know she was sick. So I started to think like, oh my God, is that something I could have done? Was it a replacement? Is it something I could have done? Maybe if I had prayed more or something. You know, when I started to feel, but then what made me even say this is because there's a fear that comes afterwards. So you start to feel like anytime one evil thought comes to your head, is something about to happen? Is it something?
Do you find yourself, do you find
a fear?
Because
you see, we say, okay, when you get that kind of thing happen, you say to pray. I know when she talks about her brother, she says she knew the last time she saw him, that the time was near. I spoke to my dad last. I was the last child I spoke to my dad. I knew something was off. I lost a good friend 2 years ago, and she had collapsed that morning, and I said, when you get out of the hospital, come to my house. I knew.
So the point you're making,
so
knowing is not...
It's not, even if
not
you
enough.
pray, there's just something that tells you that this could be final. A lot of people say that, but they just say, I don't want to believe that, so I'm just going to shake God's head anyway and say, you know, you have to keep them with me.
It's interesting that you say that, because the conversation I had with my husband, I remember, yes, I remember the way he said, I love you. In a normal sense, I would never really, oh, I love you too, because it's something we said, but it had such a finality to it.
Is it in retrospect?
In retrospect.
Are you not just assuming?
No, in retrospect, because it resonated so well at the time, but I didn't click per se. And then when I got the news, it was like, that was his final I love you. That was his final I love you.
Well, I think before we round up, it would be nice for us to say, what are the takeaways really at the end of the day? And from both of you, what are the takeaways from you? What is the takeaway that people who watch must take away as they grieve? Or, because you can't stop death from happening. We already agreed that happened. And we've agreed on the etiquette. But what's the takeaway for you?
It's like being in a plane, and a plane is about to crash. They don't say pray, they say brace for impact. And that's what life does. Sometimes you just brace because you can't stop it. And bracing would be taking a position that when you're hit, would still preserve you, or you will still survive. So
what's the best position for grief?
The best position for grief is knowing the truth. Knowing the truth. What is the truth? That God still loves me. That everything will be fine.
I think one of my favorite parts of my own walk is the understanding that all things work together for good, which is such a paradox when we really think about it. But going through the grieving process, I have realized that even in your worst moments, there is a grace and there is a strength that actually keeps you standing in a way that you never ever thought that you could. But one of the key things I have learned personally is the concept of acceptance. Because for me, the longer I hold on, the more my hands are bruised. And the more my hands are bruised and I'm holding on tight, I'm refusing to allow grace, release, love, and healing to come into my life. And so I remember very clearly the day I sat down on the stairs, I was crying, and I said, Lord, I just accept. And that was how my healing really, really started. So that's my key lesson that I would
I'd like
share.
to thank both of you for sharing. My co-presenters were crying all the way.